Carlos, he's from this town, so we went to the cops and said, you know what, we'd like to borrow a couple of your machine guns if you would allow us to. We're going to put blanks in them, and you can lend us one of your cops to watch us. We're only going to use them for a few minutes at a time. The only problem with having a real gun is that when you put a blank in it, it would jam like this. That's it. That's all it would give us. So what I would have to do in order to have a machine gun sequence is that I would have to shoot the barrel firing once from 4 different angles, like this. Then I would get a shot of the bad guys getting squibbed, so I could put a machine gun sound over it and make it seem like there was continuous fire going on. Okay, see, the squib didn't fire in that take. Right here, there it goes. It's just a weightlifting belt, a condom full of homemade blood made of food coloring and corn syrup. So this guy had 2 squibs on. We got these squibs from an effects guy we knew in Mexico, and we tested them out on Carlos.
This one hurt a lot.
They gave us white ones and yellow ones. One was a body squib and one was a ground squib. We didn't know which was which, so we had to test it.
Was that a white one or a yellow one?
Okay, here's the sequence edited with that squib effect and with that machine gun effect. What I did was I double cut the barrel fire, and here it comes right now. Double cut, and then have the machine gun sound going over the cuts to give the illusion that there's machine gun fire going on. See, these are things you take for granted on a real movie set by having movie prop guns. Instead of spending the money and renting one, we just creatively thought of a way to get around it. I wanted to show you my sound setup. This is actually a videotape I shot during production. This is Juan Suarez. He's a local exterminator who's a musician on the side, and he wrote this song for our movie. I'm recording it with my sound setup, which is my Marantz tape recorder and my Radio Shack microphone right there. That's me actually holding the mic up. I'm taping the sound. This is the actual song that's used in the movie, in the actual recording, and videotaping it at the same time so that Carlos can watch his finger movements. And I mean, as you can hear, this musician's voice is much deeper than Carlos's. So what I did was I used my tape recorder, had a pitch control. I pitched it up so it matched more my actor's voice. We just did it on the fly. He wrote us a song in a couple of days and came back, we recorded it, and then we lip-synced to it. Basically, this is also how I recorded the sound for the movie. I wanted to get all the dialogue and sound effects right there on the set and not just loop it in later, because that sounds really canned. So after I'd shoot a scene, I would put the camera away, have everyone repeat their dialogue and their action, and would get everything from sound effects and dialogue so that I could cut it in later and sync it by hand. So even him splashing the water on his face right here, I went ahead and got on location. See, it's almost a perfect match. Almost. Close enough. Here's how I did the dialogue. I would film it, then I would record the sound after the take. She would be speaking in her own natural rhythm, and there isn't a lot of dialogue in the movie, so I was able to sync most of it up.
¿Quién eres? ¿Qué tienes aquí?
But where it absolutely would not sync up, like right here,
¿Armas? ¿Pistolas? ¿Navajas?
I knew that's where I would cut away in the editing. The camera I borrowed, it had 2 great lenses on it. One was a zoom lens, which I used all the time for dialogue. And then it had a 5.7 millimeter canoptic lens, which is a lens that's so wide, it doesn't need any focusing. It is a little wide. I mean, things look a little goofy, but I didn't even have to look through the eyepiece half the time. I mean, if I was doing like an action sequence like this of him jumping over, I couldn't keep my eye on the eyepiece. I would just follow his feet down with the camera, and I would know that it's in frame because the lens is so wide. The local newscasters in town were very critical of everything that went on. We grabbed this guy and made him the bartender, and this other guy, we made him the hotel clerk. I kept them involved in the picture, and it made it easier for us to run down the street with guns, have no one complain. Here's a good example of how cheap I was on this movie, actually. Case here, you see the very visible scar on the lid right there in the center. This is the same case that the Mariachi carries around. I didn't even bother to get 2 different cases because I didn't have any money for it. This isn't even a good case. I mean, it's a little cardboard case. You can see that he's got the guitar in there. It's supposed to be the weapons. What I actually do is cut to this other case. It's a much heavier case, but it doesn't have a handle, and the top of the lid is wood colored because the black material was pulled off. And I was too cheap to paint it black, so I would just cut away from it. Instead of showing that lid, I would just cut away because I was cheap. I was too cheap to even buy a can of black paint. But if you want to make a movie for a really low budget, you can't spend on anything. You have to refuse to spend. I mean, that's just basically how you do it. You refuse to spend on anything. You start spending a little bit, you start that money hose going, and you just can't stop it. Think of a creative way to get around your problem and keep your money in your pocket. One question people have a lot is, how did you light the movie by yourself and with how many lights? And I actually only had 2 lights. In fact, they weren't really movie lights. There's those work lamps that you get at hardware stores, the ones with the little clip-on bottoms and the aluminum domes. I have a 200-watt light bulb inside of it that's balanced for indoor film, and then a sheet of diffusion over it to make it softer. Since the light source is so small, I have to put it really, really close to the actors, right out of camera frame. I had two of these lights, so one of them would be on the right side, you can tell on his face, creating a little bit of shadow, and the other one would be on the left side, making a little bit of edge, bouncing off a sheet of styrofoam. You can see with her, the light on the right is creating that sort of side light effect, and then when she turns right into the second light, which is also set up sort of kind of like a side light, making that shadow across her face. That third light behind her, you see, is just the sun coming through some stained glass. Since we shot these scenes fairly quickly, we didn't have to worry about the sun changing position on us. When you look at the bar sequences, you'll notice that I never do the same lighting setup twice. Every time you go in there, there's absolutely no lighting continuity, because I was trying to learn. I wanted to learn what the best lighting would be. So every time I was in that bar, I would light it differently. This scene, for instance, there's the one light on his face. The sun is going down in the background. That's why it's that blue color, because the film is balanced for indoor. Any sunlight coming in is going to turn blue. And you notice at the bottom of his chin, there's a slight edge light. That's because the light is on the floor, creating that sort of very slight edge along his chin and up over his hair. For the bad guys, I did something different. I put a red light on him. So I have my one light on the right side on his face, and the second light kicking from behind with a red gel over it. You notice outside that it's a little brighter outside. We shot this on a different day. In this scene, I did something completely different, because this was the last scene we shot, and it was at night. It was like 3 in the morning, so there's no light coming in from outside. So what I had to do was put the light in the back on the wall, going through that rail back there to make those patterns on the wall. And my second light is right here on the right, very side light, making half his face go into shadow. It's right out of the camera frame, so it's really close, making a very, very soft light. You know what? I think our 10 minutes are up. But basically, I just want to, if you're interested in making a movie, go make one, but make it cheap. Make it dirt cheap. Refuse to spend any money, and see how much you can do with your creativity. So many people come up to me and tell me, "Oh yeah, I made this movie. We got it in for under, $200,000, but our investors are, we don't know what we're going to do with it." And it's such a big production when you make a big production out of it. Don't. You can have a lot of fun and do some really cool stuff with just, in your backyard with a few toys. And that's it. Good luck.